Hey internet, so we finally made it to the new year, and I'm sure everybody is glad that we're out of that awful cesspool that we call 2020. And with it being a new year, I hear a lot of people calling it a new beginning. Thank God that it's finally over. We're in a brand new year. It's all going to get better, and I can't blame them for thinking that. However, I hate to say it, but we're not out of the woods. And from the looks of things, it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. For a situation hasn't changed. It's a new year, yes, but it's not a new me for this country. Lockdowns are still in full swing and are being enforced, and the looks of things, it's going to ramp up as cases spike. We still got to follow safety guidelines in most states whenever we go out, and in some places, if they're violated, you can get fined or even put time in prison. And to make things worse, the political spectrum is at an all-time high in hostility, to the point we can break out into a second civil war any minute now. Now, I pray that doesn't happen, but it's not looking all too good. Basically, America, no, the whole world actually, is in a complete shit show. Last year was absolutely miserable. So much so that I didn't even crack a smile during New Year's came around. And we all know the sole purpose of what has flipped our lives upside down. Yes, the protests were pretty intense. Yes, the election was also intense. But nothing can come close to the devastation that these lockdowns have brought. Because the lockdowns had affected us directly. It all happened so fast. One minute we were out and about, and the next we're locked in our house. Even if we weren't even infected, we sure being treated like we were. Yeah, I get in the beginning when the virus broke out, it was kind of understandable that we had to have some kind of lockdown or some kind of action to be done in the beginning. We didn't know the scope of how dangerous the virus was, and knowing it is possibly a deadly airborne virus running wild, it's kind of unsettling to think about. But these lockdowns have gone on for months on end, and we see the damage it's doing. Now, with that being said, I think you can clearly tell what position I am on this. This lockdown is not only destroying this country, but they also don't even make any sense. I mean, if you look at some of these regulations, they have constantly contradict themselves. And a lot of them flat out don't even make any sense. Like, how does that protect us? And as a matter of fact, allow me to point out some of those and some of my thoughts on the side. Starting at the top. Now, with face masks, I know a lot of people are against them. Even Dr. Fauci himself said they weren't even effective in one interview.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is.
But then later flipped in another.
Would urge the leaders, the local political and other leaders in states and cities and towns to be as forceful as possible in getting your citizenry to wear masks. Masks are important.
And you see why people don't trust the government. Like, why the hell are we taking this man's word for gospel when he clearly can't even get his facts right? He can't even make up his mind. I mean, I never even heard of this man until the pandemic started. And every time I hear someone cite a source of information, it's always something that he said, always Dr. Fauci. Like, why are we taking all this information from one doctor? But anyway, he now says face masks are essential and should be enforced along with other precautions. Now, I'm sure you've seen it, but there's a lot of people resisting this idea, and people do not like to have to be wearing a face mask.
I have asthma. Put a mask on or get out of the store. That's their rules.
I'm getting kicked out?
Yeah.
This is all recorded.
Great.
I'm getting kicked out.
Are you protected or not? Do you believe that works? Do you believe that?
It doesn't matter if you think it works or not. It's about community respect.
Is it protecting you?
It's about respect.
Why are you worried?
It's about respect.
If it works, you should not be worried. When I was in the military,
so you refuse to wear a mask to put people at risk.
Apparently.
I mean, it's not really
That's
cool.
What you're saying.
I mean,
studies have shown that of all the people that have had coronavirus, over 70% of them wore a mask all the time.
So they let you through the store, and no one never stopped you.
That's correct.
That's kind of messed up because I seen it on YouTube, whereas they actually had stopped people from coming into Walmart and other stores.
The last time I checked, we still live in America, not Russia, not communist China. Okay?
But some of us would like to be safe.
Everyone else is wearing a mask except for you.
If you're concerned about your safety, then stay home. Okay?
Now, I'm not going to be calling these people idiots or fools for not wanting to wear a mask. I mean, hell, I'm not even crazy about wearing one either. It's hard to breathe. But aside from that, many people, and so do I, believe that you have to wear a mask, as in it's mandated by the government, is more of a cover-up, no pun intended. It's not really about the mask, but more so about obedience. Wearing a face mask is small and very easy to follow. You can easily chop it up and say, just wear a mask, bro, like what's the harm? But that's how it always starts. It's a small minor inconvenience that you won't even notice, but you are still required to follow it. The system has given you a lawful order that you must obey despite the inconsistencies. So it begs the question, if a person is willing to follow a simple command like that, what else will they follow? How far will their loyalty go? You may have noticed that the mask mandate has pitted people against each other, calling out others for not following the rules, being labeled an anti-masker or a Karen, or any other degrading name you could think of. Because if you don't wear a mask, you're putting everyone's life at risk, and everyone believes they're in the right. Okay, the concept of essential workers is just a weird one to me. Like all the others, really. The idea of having essential jobs just doesn't make any sense. Every worker is an essential worker. If it's putting food on the table, it's essential. We are dealing with a virus. It doesn't matter what job you have, you can still get infected. Those essential workers can end up infected just as any other person, and they can also spread it just like any other person. So with that said, it's just not practical to have some businesses open and others closed. You're taking food out of people's mouths. An essential worker can go out and do the same job at an established corporation as any other worker would at a private mom and pop businesses, or any business not a part of the elite establishment. But since these private businesses are a part of the elite circle, they get shut down. This to me seems like a ruse to dismantle the competitive businesses and hold all the wealth to the billionaires like Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, who are currently making a killing off this pandemic. So why would they oppose these lockdowns where they're benefiting so much from? Okay, there is no reason for any state to have curfews whatsoever. It literally does nothing to stop the spread or even slow it down. Like, I have seen no evidence whatsoever that backs up the claim that curfews will slow down the spread. Like what? Are you going to tell me that the virus goes Super Saiyan after 10 p.m.? I highly doubt it. The theory behind it was to restrict movement to a certain point in the day to decrease interaction. And with a decrease in interaction, the slower the spread somehow. Movement is isolated to a certain point in the day. Now, I'm no doctor. I'm just the average man. I'm no expert of any sort. I'm not claiming to be, but I'm just using my common sense here. This is a virus. It's in the air. It's on your skin. It's on the objects you touch. The time of day doesn't matter. People are out and about during the day. More so, in fact. The population will still get infected, no matter what. When they go home, they're going to put their families at risk, and when they go out the next day, they're going to spread it even further. It doesn't take a doctor to figure that out. The virus doesn't have an on and off switch. This is not something you just half-ass. You either have you lock down completely, all stores closed, or not at all, and have everything open and let people live their lives. And another restriction doesn't make any sense at all. And I know I'm sounding like a broken record at this point. But why the hell are there restrictions on how many people we can associate with? Like, where is the logic behind this? Those are the very people you hang out with, and they could just as likely be infected as anyone else. All it takes is just one person. The social gathering limit varies from state to state. For example, in New Jersey, the outdoor social gathering limit is 25 people, whereas in Montana, the limit is up to 50 people. And at the same time, in Florida, there is no limit. So do you mean the virus is deadlier depending on the state you live in? Like, where is the consistency? Okay, so as much as I've been ragging on these lockdown restrictions, it's no surprise there's going to be some hypocrisy in this. There's a lot of rules for thee and not for me going on. Lots of politicians, legislators, mayors, governors have all been caught breaking the rules they told us to follow. So many instances have been found where government officials violated their own laws. So when our own politicians don't even follow their own rules, how can they expect the public to follow them, or even take it seriously for that matter? And the fact is, it's forced. That makes the public want to follow it even less. This is why the government should just stay out of people's lives. Just because it's a pandemic doesn't mean they can cross their bounds. They don't have our best interests at heart. They never did. We don't need the establishment telling people how to take care of themselves. Now, with all that being said, am I saying that the virus doesn't exist and we shouldn't take precautions? Absolutely not. The virus is very real and people have died legitimately, but that can be said with any illness. It happens, but we cannot make laws that disrupt the lives of people, causing them to lose their homes, their jobs, and much more based off those cases, especially when it's coming from a government we barely trust, not to mention are known to break their own rules. The system has made it blatantly clear that they do not care about the common man. The system doesn't care if you lose your home. They do not care if you lose your job. Like, it's so evident now that they're not even hiding it. The world is falling apart and they're smiling in your face telling you that they're looking out for you, your health. Like, give me a break.